They never called it a warning. They never said, "We are preparing a response." They said it had already happened. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps released a statement that was specific, direct, and unmistakably confident. According to them, 4 ballistic missiles were fired at the USS Abraham Lincoln, a $20 billion nuclear-powered aircraft carrier stretching over 1,100 feet of American military power in the Sea of Oman. But a carrier is more than steel and engines. It is a floating city. Nearly 5,500 sailors, pilots, engineers, medics, deck crews, and command staff live and work inside a machine that never truly sleeps. It carries an entire air wing, strike fighters, electronic attack aircraft, surveillance planes, and helicopters, enough to operate as a fully functional mobile airbase without needing permission from any runway on land. It exists for one purpose: to project power and to survive anything sent against it. Then a second voice emerged, this time from U.S. Central Command. Immediate, official, blunt. The USS Abraham Lincoln was not hit. The missiles never came close. 2 governments, 2 narratives, one extremely dangerous stretch of ocean. But the real question is the one no official press conference has clearly answered. If the Lincoln was never touched, why did it suddenly move nearly 1,000 kilometers away? Stay with me for a moment. Because the distance that carrier quietly traveled tells us more than any statement either government has made in public. Welcome to Prime John Egg. If you have been here before, you already understand what we try to do on this channel. We don't simply read the official statements. We read what those statements are carefully designed not to say. We examine the space between the press conferences, the places where the real questions live but rarely get asked. If this channel has ever made you stop and truly think, consider subscribing just once. And before we go further, tell us something in the comments. Where in the world are you watching this tonight? Your city? Your country? Because this story is crossing every time zone, and the truth is that nobody is watching it alone. Now let's return to the beginning. Because to understand what is unfolding in the waters between Iran and the United States, you have to understand how this conflict actually began, how quickly it escalated, and why a dispute involving one ship has quietly become one of the most strategically significant confrontations of the war. Operation Epic Fury. The beginning. The operation began in the early hours of Saturday, February 28, 26. There was no speech beforehand, no public ultimatum. It began the way serious military campaigns always begin, in darkness, with coordination and with a level of precision that requires months of preparation. The United States and Israel launched a massive bombardment against Iran. Tomahawk cruise missiles were fired from U.S. Navy warships in the Arabian Sea. Himmer's batteries launched ATACMS rockets. B-2 stealth bombers struck hardened underground ballistic missile facilities that had been built specifically to survive attacks like this. Within the first 12 hours alone, U.S. Central Command reported roughly 900 strikes conducted by American forces. Israeli aircraft carried out hundreds more that same day. Missile production facilities, naval headquarters, ERG command centers, air defense installations. The infrastructure that supports Iran's military power was being struck across the country in real time. And when strikes occur on that scale, that quickly, the objective is not to send a warning. The objective is to break a system. Then came the confirmation that transformed a military campaign into a global shock. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, was reported killed during the strikes. The conflict did not slow when that news broke. It accelerated, because decapitation strikes rarely end wars. They compress decision-making. They force responses before new leadership structures stabilize. Messaging becomes survival, and every move becomes immediate. Now we return to the carrier. Before Operation Epic Fury even began, the USS Abraham Lincoln had already been operating in the region 4 weeks. Again, this was not simply a ship passing through. It was a floating airbase powered by nuclear reactors capable of remaining at sea for months while launching continuous flight operations. In early February, weeks before the first missile strikes, one of its fighter jets intercepted and shot down an Iranian drone that approached the carrier aggressively. That means the Lincoln and its strike group, including the destroyers USS O'Kane and US Pinckney, were already operating inside a zone of tension before the war even had a name. When Operation Epic Fury began, the carrier quickly became a central platform in the opening phase of the campaign. Its aircraft launched strike missions. Its escort ships fired cruise missiles. The USS Abraham Lincoln was not a distant observer. It was directly involved in the first wave of attacks. And then Iran responded. A response that immediately caught the attention of naval analysts around the world. Iran claimed it had fired ballistic missiles directly at the carrier, a claim that, if true, would represent one of the most dangerous escalations in modern naval warfare. On March 1st, the IRGC released a statement that spread across the world within minutes. According to the announcement, the U.S. aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln had been struck by 4 ballistic missiles, not merely targeted, not simply fired upon, struck. U.S. Central Command responded with equal clarity. The Lincoln was not hit. The missiles launched did not come close. The Lincoln continues launching aircraft in support of CENTCOM relentless campaign. Present tense, operational, business as usual. On the surface, it appeared to be a straightforward case of conflicting claims, but experienced military analysts did not focus on the statements. They watched what happened next. Because in naval warfare, the first thing commanders protect is not pride. It is capability. Ships move when the threat picture changes, when risk shifts, when the cost of remaining close becomes greater than the advantage of being visible. They move when the margin for error disappears. Credibility in war is not built on adjectives. It is built on posture. It is built on patterns. It is built on what hardware actually does when nobody is watching. 4 days later, on March 5th, Iran issued a second statement. This time, the IRGC claimed that the USS Abraham Lincoln, operating roughly 340 kilometers from Iran's maritime borders in the Sea of Oman, had been struck again. But this time, the claim was different. Not ballistic missiles, naval drones. According to the statement, following the strike, the carrier and its escorting destroyers withdrew rapidly to a position nearly 1,000 kilometers away. U.S. Central Command did not confirm the alleged drone strike, but it also did not deny that the carrier had repositioned. And that silence, careful, measured, institutional, is exactly where the real story lives, because if Iran's claim is false, the movement still occurred. And if Iran's claim is true, the movement makes perfect strategic sense. Either way, the ocean does not respond to press conferences. What distance means in naval power. The location of an aircraft carrier is never accidental. It is strategic. Where a carrier operates tells governments, intelligence services, and military planners exactly what the United States intends to do next, and how much risk Washington is willing to accept to do it. A carrier positioned roughly 340 kilometers from Iranian waters is projecting maximum presence. Close enough to launch and recover strike aircraft with minimal transit time. Close enough that the message becomes unmistakable. We are here, we are down. And the cost of attacking us is one you cannot afford. But a carrier repositioned 1,000 kilometers away communicates something different. Even if official statements insist, the vessel remains fully operational, even if footage shows jets continuing to launch. The mathematics of distance cannot be disguised. Distance changes sortie rates, distance changes loiter time, distance changes the window for search and rescue operations, distance changes how many aerial refueling tankers become necessary, distance changes escort positioning. Distance changes what risks a commander is willing to accept. Distance is a message. Distance means the calculation has changed. Distance means remaining closer was no longer worth the risk it carried. And that raises the central question. What changed? What changed? That is exactly what neither government has fully explained. The drone claim and the fog that protects it. Iran's first claim involved ballistic missiles. U.S. Central Command rejected that claim directly. Independent analysts also found no credible evidence that the missiles struck the carrier. Several videos circulating online that appeared to show the Lincoln on fire were quickly exposed as fabricated. But the March 5th claim was different in an important way. It involved naval drones, smaller, slower, lower signature. The kind of systems that can blend into crowded maritime environments and complex radar pictures. The kind of platforms that can be jammed, intercepted, spoofed, or destroyed without leaving public evidence that can be easily verified. And that ambiguity benefits both sides. For Iran, the suggestion that an American aircraft carrier might be vulnerable is powerful, even if the claim remains unproven. For the United States, publicly acknowledging even a near miss could alter deterrence calculations far beyond this region. Only weeks before the conflict began, Iran had launched the Shad Bagheri, its first dedicated drone carrier. U.S. forces reportedly targeted and sank that vessel early in the campaign, but eliminating one ship does not erase a doctrine. The UrGC drone capabilities are widely distributed across coastal installations, smaller vessels, and mobile platforms specifically designed for the geography of these waters, which means the drone claim exists inside a strategic fog. More difficult to confirm, more difficult to dismiss, and easier for both sides to shape for their own purposes. The claim that naval drones reached the USS Abraham Lincoln and that the carrier then repositioned has not been independently verified, but it has also not been definitively disproven. And that gap is where strategic calculations are made. The information war. Modern conflict is fought not only with weapons, but with narratives. Perception itself has become a battlefield. For Iran, claiming a strike on an American aircraft carrier is not only about military capability. It is about domestic legitimacy after a decapitation strike and the death of its supreme leader. A regime facing shock needs its military to demonstrate reach. The claim serves that purpose, whether it is true or not. For the United States, acknowledging damage to the USS Abraham Lincoln, even minor damage, would send a signal far beyond this conflict. An aircraft carrier is the physical embodiment of American deterrence. The assumption that U.S. carriers are effectively invulnerable to regional powers is a load-bearing pillar of American credibility. Any crack in that image sends a message to Beijing, Moscow, Pyongyang, and every capital paying attention. So both sides need you to believe them. Iran needs you to believe the carrier can be reached. America needs you to believe it cannot. And in the center of that information war, the Lincoln moved. The wider battlefield surrounding the carrier. This is not a clean bilateral confrontation. It is a regional conflict spreading across airspace, ports, and global shipping lanes. And we will continue reading what they are not saying. The world is moving fast. Stay with us.